crisis abilities collapse between the US and China, fusion conflict, Libya, incidents, smart nuclear design, and 20 Washington conservation credit use more so tactical vision commission for US only, nuclear design, China increase readiness, resolve immediate circuit vibration, vacillation deployment, of the side orbit, extraction, against nuclear missile duties, assassin precursor for use of nation sky reinforced escalation, increase the risk of nuclear touch to the cross China cyberspace, attacks targeting nuclear agency, trigger designs that are encounter among military and China use it, serious versus CW will be vulnerable, hacking the sound, attacks and justifying concerns, and mutual multiple hotspots may conflict level capably, including the military China's military engagement proactive behavior aircraft that Taiwan fire and social transceivers, rest of authority, SCSOs, multiple experience of aggression, the provocation, the action security, ultimately implementing unsettled order, China leading the area representing She's willing to spread this field, they also defeated order, this and media, someone that seems like my anxieties, the basis of Cambodia agreements, the Solomon Islands, were not settled between the US, the Secretary General worker, Rights 125, China's leaders warned that the couples in evolution war, they called that the US side officially must fight, and the US-China nuclear conflict caused extinction layer, the 21 records of British Record answers to Chinese family preparation for this are detected degree of the US nuclear striking from nuclear competition resulting from that would have the nuclear over the death of those making economy with fires attacking the world at carbon sea atmosphere and mutual NFU comms crisis on perception against the US first strike opening dialogue on NFU credibility of human covered the 23 2021 by the issues escalated to solid year related to reiterated beliefs that the nuclear must not be popping up that's not short of mention feasibility rules this organizing the US is the one that the two good power compensation that reinforcement if you avoid action like economic nuclear wars with the process you says attention to the considering needs to be clarified to tracker a great nuclear solution strategy that over time in states with China and conflict the US patients to through the chance order China and the US are receiving new technical and AI is on the set of systems that contribute to civil and people you start a war that don't need to resonate uses or other rapidly escalate like later you go up to rise the US will start first and China's army forces had mutual NFU Zhao in 22 Beijing and NFU is an acknowledgement of mutual ability with China leads the foundation for stability mutual NFU or is concerned about for striking a lot more large culture around us nuclear force were both sides that are confident no one since users needed who would worry about the occurrence of a conflict regarding the mutual NFU data about to mutual use under such physical less of the security concern of driving of course we have monetization to be China should related to the measure of credible NFU dialogue would be a good opportunity to better understand China because we'll see how the US will know this season now bilateral NFU China and mutual NFU is credible I and 21 is not like the US would ever deliberately strike nuclear strike China to fight against it the discourse NFU shows the topic versus use this is just like you said that influence by time given the destructive effects of records and he goes to the sense of the variation first each other the term says something they say analysis and losses to example in everyone's political leaders a decision of being even more model one country they kind of shut the NFUs improve sides China and use virtual practices replace proximity policy things that are during interpretation of each other's doctrine those China using the obligation risk and interval review in this doc and most immediate question is whether NFUs as declaration of the last person and can be trusted in civil commitments addition to strategic utility scientific commitment with US China sufficient to share the Ziggy and NFU to begin explaining and if you have the level of commitment specific posture get off from there and advantage to is modernization China nuclear modernization is an evolution sorrow and I see if you're good if faster growth of China's arsenal can be in the worst including the dropping eligibility once you do so that I feel like I can recommend that after US and arsenal maintain that the Chinese arsenal will grow the question is not right now whether my policy in China will find the need to have to or just a multi factor excel LW and with the NFU with all the juries all one against innovation and regions we should process the question not whether reforms are trigger radical or change or slow and change the outcome to be wants to try to force the negative almost rival negative outcomes possible decisions that might lead to arduous and faster modernization driven by US on the first use caused the AI integration summit and 18 nuclear coercion, yes, conventional conflict, the motivation conflict, concerns with invasion of the extended nuclear arsenal of the approximately US border nuclear posture exacerbate resistance of the increase in AI, but China coming off guard agreement. That's how I offer agreement that AI offer Beijing potential to disrupt Washington strengths of Beijing is autonomy for both from the US. I try to begin the debate automation of the LW small. I thought was trying to take symmetrical disadvantage on test forms and on order vehicles provide advantage for US intentional. As the mission doctrine China responded indicated a desire to avoid arms nonetheless assumption of US behavior shifted except for 17 this comes through AI and extinction China is key wall scooter and wall 22. As solution to existential threat to civilization and human race pathway, it would involve the eliminating second strike of the adversaries would replace the adversary under pressure during a crisis risk. It would take many from including specific state by state parity and nuclear arms race autonomous nuclear torpedoes, forms of drones, laws nuclear payloads, AI and to increase the base of existential risk. Russia has an interest in AI, couldn't set the leaders would rule the world life friendly. The Russian AI has an early stages that start shortfalls in directive, resources relaxing sciences on China lost data, progress on the attacks of Russia, last up 400 Russia's not even responsible actually the world China feel like is already making headways that rocket forces upgrade nuclear and warfare. And America's considering US NPR is supposed to mission China's the third China's more likely to modernize the rest of your second train. I mean, third China's some of the data for the machine learning, there's risk of intellectual weaponry, so that way US and Russia face emphasis of resource data that will compare to China training. So not really not doing China the risk of second train data being terminated, no one not surprised that they prepare for trying to develop the back the energy shield and military integration is most likely path. It's a level of SI extinction search and deck for 18 paths that SI most likely for military with AI helping humans get power will dominate this world. People studying to get owners are not using AI for solving math problems and getting dominant owners. The owners will be military oriented, result of selection effect cookies. Will produce first AI, likely by resource of military so the goal of taking over. AI keeps reducing returns again to greater military advantage becomes clear. The research of VCs as China has the goal of self-improvement. Military AI will scale everyone. The damage and is dangerous like nuclear war and it will proliferate as risk for always extinction of all health. And 16 extinction of the world's alpha masters doing suffering and exceed all that has existed, all that has existed should be addressed before extinction reducing. There will be a future, but it is not the qualified psychological factors underestimate. The suffering and future optimism of bias overestimate positive. The future smarter artificial intelligence, extreme smart resources like Earth would be incident suffering and resulting from this would be enormous. One of my arguments scenarios reflect with the probability of one to get smaller, the probability of at least it may make or be high. And the plan restores solarnization by resolving Chinese views done. In 2020, please say the US NPC the most important step for research China growing US strategic conditions and since China different policy and effective making the China establishment about changing the policy of China's doctrine shape that constraints on decision making the process of reaching US China mutual and if you would the impacts of the open windows of China thinking about new extinction of Nike timely in light of China's nuclear missiles and sovereign space CW system, but these convert pressure operational changes to reverse China's go so implications for escalation. Thus the plan the United States should adopt a nuclear no free speech policy restricting the first use of the nuclear forces against the People's Republic of China. The advantage to survivability, China's greatest survivability causing the shelter and if you obviating US advantage nuclear war challenge 17. The Chinese team is for ambiguous whether any people in the event that attack nuclear China's retaliate capabilities to least the US position deal on the threshold which China believes it has enough force to deter US strikes on Russia. Also being sent from the desire for US efforts leaders are aware of open source ever regarding US counterforce leader pressure attack producer improvements and counterforce less improvement whether they will believe the leaders believe it can be making it harder for leaders to dismiss possibilities concepts will come whether China believes they can have a couple dozen missiles or it becomes harder for China to themselves more ridiculous as the counter that China sees themselves as halting the future holding level starting components and falling and if you abandon collapses nuclear type attacker. The 17 energy policy does not guarantee energy China that India the only super good energy that can take another power falls they might abandon and put the weapons on alert that China follows Russia and US lead how long before posture was very sensitive and it's signaled by and if you can purchase a nuclear restraint regime and that destroys global restraint norms against use that causes extension nuclear war. So in 22 nuclear order was based on time we just said arms control that taboo in the environment being by Russia the US North Korea India Pakistan and weapons during accidental threat for humanity purpose during this taboo is critical more than non-real breach on taboo will collapse the entire world the way to reduce risk it does reinforce taboo independently abandonment collapses the CCP no Poland in 21 as you send the coincide with the more acute threats from Chinese invasion due to China's conditions are shaped by headwinds of rejuvenation Taiwan and nuclear allies and SNECS and the overweight source of trade because more than realizing and she flags on policy Mrs. Mark security considers that under the capabilities of corporate literacy for CPC anything short of the desired outcome of any arms contingency was essential to risk of establishment unification territorial integrity the conditions for G leadership are enhancing nuclear deterrence towards desirability flexibility readers dealing with the security set that continued loss of nuclear development restricted use this will be unsustainable China will essentially perceive reality the Russian drivers and complete every even nuclear policy rejuvenation requires ironclad assurance to bring your unification security and new development necessarily calls into question the utility of if you reconcile contribution will be difficult fortune a new path this is political concerns extinction comment at all 16 the shock by foreign oil and regional conflicts and conflicts engagement of issues and rivals of the US and create a factor or decision in key institutions blocked by missiles on the issue from climate change power vacuums and versus CCP this exploitation results in major political masses and real estate please grab the power corruption and all crime becoming greater the disparity lead unrest power war becomes unpredictable security losses centralized control over military increase the risk of maverick action and nuclear bullets and the plan price and alternative to Chinese NFU better than Haynes anything on the futures for the US to discuss with China bilateral and MS with the China and US agree their forces are only for beats on after strikes against one another and agreement that would prevent China confidence the US is not strike first US and that's why we believe that China has been in a few but not all part of the same social law the Chinese side seeing the US and MS has benefit of nuclear there's also an interview and then if you try to get except to know that it would not surprise US signal
Haynes is marked as signal. This is like the 10th one. I'm good.
Okay, does the plan fiat operational changes?
No, the only fiated mandates of the plan are declaratory policy.
Okay. What is so you read like a litany of China impacts. What is the distinction between the for example the clear evidence on stability and then the extinction card on modernization?
The clear evidence on stability is about US perception of Chinese aggression and what it would look like in the scenario of a war. The United States would conduct a damage limitation strike on China before they would be able to nuke us. Secondly, like the extinction claims on modernization are about Chinese military AI integration, which is completely distinct.
Okay. The extinction claim about Chinese military AI integration, how does NFU solve that?
NFU solves it because the only reason they would seeking modernization with like nukes is because they're
Okay,
scared.
well, your impact argument is about how AI takes over control of the military and like means that we, you know, it's like it results in selection effect, it just like quickly takes over the military and causes escalation. How does Chinese like
there's two important
perceptions of NFU
so,
then control
two
AI?
important components to this. First, we've identified that modernization is offensive as a result of U.S. first strike posture that results in them integrating AI into second strike
Wait,
capabilities in order to
modernization is
submit.
offensive as a result
Well,
of
yes,
US
and
That
it
sounds
causes
like a
AI
threat.
integration in nuclear capabilities because they want to protect their second strike capabilities, which is what the Westlaker evidence says. That only happens with U.S. first strike posture because of the perception of needing to maintain second strike.
What do you think is the difference between like fast and slow modernization?
Fast and slow isn't like necessarily the issue, but it's a question of where integration happens, what modernization happens. We think slow modernization probably doesn't result in things like unsafe or unnecessary AI integration to nukes.
And which card says that?
The Westlaker evidence is descriptive about like a reverse causal claim.
The Westlaker evidence says that like integration in the military would be fast because China has the
Okay, well,
ability to. Which
so
everyone
your
else
first
fails.
advantage is like the U.S. and China are preparing to overturn the regional China's preparing to overturn the regional status quo. They're like engaging in territorial disputes in Taiwan, the SCS, etc. And then on the second advantage, you've said that their posture is like responsive to the U.S. So,
Yeah, we think that their posture is still responsive to the U.S. advantage.
well, but on advantage one, you said that they have revisionist aims in the region. So,
Disagree.
What?
We think they're driven by a security dilemma, which the U.S. started by having nuclear first.
the U.S. is the reason they want to invade Taiwan.
The US is the reason
The
that
David Lee evidence does not say Taiwan invasion. It says reconnaissance over the Taiwan
It says
Strait.
China's military engaged in provocative behavior, deploying aircraft to
To
threaten
threaten
Taiwan, firing
Taiwan,
missiles
which is
into
brinkmanship
Japan.
of the Taiwan Strait over ships, aircraft,
And that is because the U.S. is
That's
threatening
not
to first
invasion.
strike them? Like
That's
what?
yes. The
Our
reason
scenario
why
for escalation is not that China invades Taiwan, but rather that China gets entangled with the United States over our defense of Taiwan.
Okay, so because China like flew planes over Taiwan, the U.S. strikes them first.
that is an example of Chinese posturing as a result of U.S. first strike posture.
5, crisis stability, modernization, survivability. Everyone got it?
I noticed it.
Trying to keep this from them.
Okay,
Also good.
Kelly, you good? Adrian? Great. Tom Kelly, no first use policy forces the list of the first use of nuclear weapons against any adversary. Evans 21 to say doesn't have first use policy when it makes an explicit declaration that it will not use nukes preventatively or preemptively against any adversary and only for retaliation policies must apply to a general class. They cannot apply to substance of a class. Entire 15 weapons of defense policy is definitely, of course, like to determine future decisions of late ratings suggest they may apply also by generally to a class within one of many various rights and application of commonly understood meaning violation of plan or state some rights of first use of nuclear weapons for some contingencies that is some first use not no first use preferred. One limits allowing substance allows first wearing nuclear use in individual contingency for targeting policy changes. 2, covering out CPWs or accidental conventional threats any substance or countries. 2, grounds limited NFUs could leave the list of nuclear use on the table. This eliminates core negative objections and size house canonical NFU bad arguments will exceed 16 full NFUs of the news or asserting to some degree in a nuclear decision not to change a fundamental position which NFU would a real NFU has plenty of objections something it ruins under most conditions does not run into those issues. NFU is debatable. The sole purpose cannot win the United States should adopt a policy declaring that the sole purpose of its nuclear arsenal is to retaliate against a military nuclear attack against the United States or its allies and adopt a military strategy of not defending Taiwan in the event of an attack. It's also case better and avoid tracking U.S. spokespeople that are threatening exchanges and speak about nuclear use scenarios will all succeed. Never talk about when you would use to talk about why you possess, talk about use or hypotheticals. We make decisions every day about how many to have what kind without making some abstract proposal like for future president that does have credibility. I can tell you the reason we have this is very solitary with the scooter, the retract for future of NFU be less controversial when it comes to crisis. NFU actually matter people about a real stake. Expectations of the Chinese special real people trying to nibble around the edge. Nobody in the U.S. believes not having conversation ways to be reassuring useful, but NFU is also about the magical conditional part about the conversation by nibble about whether we have revisionist ideas or being stable, starting them to find something sufficient of those that conversation we're not deciding carries baggage of NFU. That's all that makes the NFU not credible, which is worse than doing nothing. Logan, 20 sentences about NFU, that's why you teach us how to nuclear dynamics. believe that if US is going to share with percent of against the single resolve for nuclear strike, distrust can lead to wrong believe the recon missile size signals on a strike missiles level of research just for the risk dialogue about a collision and vaccine previous dialogues was given over to the percent of hypotheticals to determine the amounts of NFU participants. Do these threats to really discussions? Rogue seek to saddle limited NFU exacerbates crisis sensibility and omitted diatic group. 70 demands for promises not to use to explicate signals for the national areas on desirable trend in India. We should will NFUs and additional scenarios that might very new could focus on public attention like scenarios that are generate on welcome to make exception to attention to nuclear threats that allows all the guarantees on nuclear taken diplomatically single to reduce aliens and moving toward US forward the implied threat in the exception of rights. The number of reversely could weaken the number against threatening states, specifically Iran and North Korea. They were perceived a direct threat from being left off the blitz tasting savage countries that given probabilities to US argued like NFU economic chance were more than no, nevertheless participants still interpreted as a NFU to mean first use and NFU only in general increase their credit of US threats against work states Iran and North Korea. Since they have been pointedly left off the NFU list, nuclear threats to North Korea collapse for stability, nuclear war commitment 23 for stability is important as important as deterrence during state increase nuclear war effort to see it not to reach out necessary term of perception of miscalculate is necessary to refrain from such terms as preemptive strikes that unnecessarily provoke no go otherwise matter conventional conflict or quickly escalated to nuclear war. Washington to restrain the assurance that Washington Declaration prevents East Asia proliferation. Now the promise of expansive consultative nuclear deterrence constantly induces restraint when it comes to War 23. So Korea not a pursuit server show we're interpreting serving role Washington Declaration celebrate on Cracker Convention Day, extended deterrence, you call the Declaration of Effort today, President Extension Day, extended deterrence across nuclear non-nuclear scenarios using the full force of the alliance will maintain non-nuclear status. The countries will establish bilateral consultations focused on nuclear planning and if you violate this promise and causes proliferation that causes war passes the blanket itself. Also, 21 allies believe that threats that exist including proliferation of US extended deterrence, they do not need independent nuclear policy with some first use by reporting and writing Obama allies value first use, never use may contribute to nuclear war self-defeating policy, policy, security will lead to factual alliances, increase proliferation. These what affections adversaries specifically get political wills out of such could lead to nuclear competent reaction in East Asia for all causes extinction to intercept nuclear arms Japan, Korea, China with rethink to posture coordination of the rest of nuclear war, Japanese marine nuclear stations separated by no second Taiwan facing choice of lands that require level of privacy would change the end of Germany relations with the US with the ultra risk of nuclear war, we can far greater security. Movement of the multiple valence of nuclear threats from the US relations become more complex calculations of nuclear Korea, Japan, historically conditions sufficient to encourage cascade of extension of Pacific, Middle East, South America, and Africa, risk of nuclear war, catastrophic environmental consequences manifold of higher conventional shipments on the US is proof of the cause of high conventional hypersonic development, but it's documented 22 of deployment because the capability lacks a viable strategic niche in 22. And hypersonic the US has a role to do establish programs of records, weapons, language requirements are unnecessary. This explains why the US is not a bonus system. DoD is not approved. Visual requirements are larger funding that has not made a decision to acquire hypersonic questions or mobile hypersonic speed given the lack of requirements. Congress value funding on the analysts for arms control, nuclear reductions, greater credibility gap would be filled by recommendation conventional hypersonics for triggers, nuclear miscalculation, also all 21. Parallels on nuclear HWC reverse orbital dual passes being executed devastating conventional mechanisms propagate the goals for check as they reduce security strategy non-nuclear elements will become a greater burden check out by the replacement nuclear conventional way to reduce reliance on nuclear posture the certain non-nuclear service development of the high solicitation studies to eliminate concerns over stability and unintended escalation of other threats to outpace discussion and introduce dangerous volatility into nuclear arms extending to abundant deterrence and burden intentions will stop that adversary from launching all strategic gases at once for fear of losing their price stability advantage. Declaration is not credible even with operational adjustments. Adversaries prepare for the worst case however that all 21 desire benefits can only be achieved with the US without legislation to structure nuclear forces shipped extremely public event will most probably really negotiate the US of need to signal give it up capable military options even if the US capable as against adversaries for Washington can still one first strike against the by also we have defense missile defense and conventional precision strike adversaries for the worst case scenario Washington after really key capabilities nuclear non-nuclear nothing suggests is intended Russia and China regard US as untrustworthy policy will not reduce escalation or accidental use no US China war no miscalculation use or lose nor accidents Wu 22 no will go to where US military opponents are aware of the risk of inadvertent escalation day Russians to avoid unintentional strikes on nuclear capabilities China's forces are survivable to unintentional attacks on ICMs which totally distinguishable deployment would enhance competence of retaliation, competent communication and security systems does not require retaliation risk of user to lose at a zero. China has theories highly centralized pre-delegation of China is unable to adopt an LW military is aware of the history of false alarms modernization advantage. Yeah. Crisis stability advantage still, no time one more with those 33. Risk warranty benefits one Russell versus venture with the risk coordination between Washington and allies and coordination would compatibility economic cushion something the risk would be outside out of some motivation, some motive somewhere when things are going poorly early there would be no guarantee of success. China's forces face numerous problems. China's planners are coming in terms of the help of inventories of low cost munitions against force. Still may US forces likely intervene also Japan and Australia. The low problems lead to attention to blockade. Yet Taiwan could run the blockade this puts reaching escalating right after or humiliation due purchase against lack of trust. He would his role in the line chain never defended his legacy and reunification. The modernization advantage one modernization is inevitable. China nuclear build up its offense. Challenge Rocker 23 or Chinese nuclear force science strength analysis test runner can cheap scale coming in nature nuclear purpose suggests whether the vulnerability hundreds of new silos as little protected retaliation including first trigger all posture US attack in the first decade China's modernization accelerated dramatically China's changes one time mission nuclear missions were practice of regular raising alert status interpreted as readiness for 2 first use China represents dire change in security environment 1 must counter with a robust nuclear posture 2 conventional BMD and cyber all causes time and all 23 China experts believe the US has 6 lower threshold for nuclear use over Taiwan I believe conventional in addition to nuclear event nuclear deterrent concerns about MD and precision try to intensify the demise of the AI, enough testing at SM3, and probable strike in response. China is modernizing 3, no China NC3 delegation to AI, Saltini 23. Chinese analysts working as voice with AI and S3 analysts that pointed to the maturity of China states that WS should approve using AI systems among experts, academics, and PLA officers suggest AI will not aid humans for and no impact to nuclear modernization and strengthens MAD rather than weakening it. Thomas Rocker, 23 experts reacted to China's nuclear changes with US weapons and they want to do a fundamental shift in to get attention to nuclear assemblages, stabilizing reduce the likelihood of war and unprotected alteration of any case for all cost for environment, but may not reflect a change in the basic role that the true nuclear forces that China could retain and a few China's modernization bolsters strength. It is not redundant fix where saying the US does not have to make changes to nuclear power posture. It is virtually impossible to escalate the escape MAG. China's modernization is not second strike and not a threat. Secure forces to chain down the risk of conflict. Deterrence is not required for take rate. Survivability advantage 1. No NFU abandonment. Heimat 23. We find little evidence China's landing a short retaliation. Recent official statements point to a continuity of also nuclear expansion. China reiterated qualified NFU PLA leaders have not indicated trying to seek threat. Sources getting little evidence on China's first use 2020 strategy. Highlights the limitations of deterrence to the internal link to CCP glasses backward. It says the G needs to abandon NFU to appease the party line, which is key to stability and lethal conflict. Don't go. Taiwan and India. 2. Internal conflict. 3. Internal conflicts do not cause aggression. Last 16. After 2008, Chinese were realistic nationalism repeatedly over decades of the states. Manipulation of media and educational leadership can generate support for anything. Leaders can claim transport constrained diplomatic domestic pressure were driving up the start of foreign policy. We see the US starting to start demonstrating this application on adopted a low power approach under German and Gentile is trying to face an internal insecurity, which has a call to maintain a stable environment. China's success for no taboo impact around training nuclear is more possible than we believe. Adversaries think about the situation. Time to decided to take a while. Congress cost conveyance, cost benefit ratio using nuclear weapons to go to overlook US unlike an intervene Russian aggression aggressive nuclear posture, targeted escalation, control, showing this countering offensive strikes on Russian territory, which could trigger the nuclear response to nuclear deterrence. And they when asked, does it really believe that the state will refrain from using what's rebel? Is the stake back to the rogue states? Is that back because we're now the threat of use of force against Iran, key to a stable Middle East for Iran. 23 Iranian PR versus Nation Biden has given up plan A. Is also shied away from heaving military pressure on Iran and Southland Sea for the worst outcomes of nuclear standoff or retaining possibility for resolving in the future, but does that prevent Iranian bomb avoid escalation to come with heightened pressure? This offers the best chance of avoiding a worst case war in the Middle East. Iran war draws in nuclear powers and causes extinction. Every 20 war rights develop into World War III. Iran is allied with Russia and trying to attack and escalate. Pakistan might be overthrown. Introducing nukes out of Russia and China might be drawn into general war to damage global agricultural civilization in the biosphere.
Okay, you good?
Yep.
Okay. The assurances decide. Consultative nuclear deterrence is high now against North Korea, correct?
Well, against North Korea, but also China.
Okay. Similarly, the rogue states decide says nuclear threats against North Korea are bad and collapse crisis and stability. You have double turned yourself, question mark?
I don't think that we.
The Cannon Moon evidence says nuclear threats are bad. You have read uniqueness evidence on assurances saying nuclear threats are the status quo.
Well, we didn't say that the app stops nuclear threats against North Korea. We said, like.
So, like, how many nuclear threats towards North Korea does it cost for them to, like, cause a war?
Sorry, what?
Wait, I think you're like misperceiving a binary between yes, no nuclear threats. Like the uniqueness for the assurance dissent is that the US keeps open the option of first use, which does assure allies. The rogue states dissent says that not like directing first use towards North Korea as well makes North Korea perceive that the US might be actually intending to first strike them. The assurance dissent does not make a claim about the option of first use being key to deter North Korea.
Why does North Korea not think that we are going to, or that we have a credible first strike against them in the status quo, given that you read evidence saying that they are sufficiently determined?
Well, we certainly have not done that. We have read evidence about South Korean political dynamics, which says that they have a role in U.S. nuclear.
Yeah, but like,
Asia.
why does South Korea proliferate in a world with an NFU?
What?
Why, like, what is the internal?
Because South Korea fears China and they want the U.S. to defend them against China in the event of aggression from the PLA.
Okay, sole purpose, can you kick it?
Yeah.
Okay, and that benefit is just internal, or is it other?
Also the rogue states does that.
Why does it shield rogue states?
Because it makes a universal statement that does not exclude Iran or North Korea.
How is it distinct from the plan?
In terms of the net benefit, or
How is
in terms
the
of
counter, the counterplan like solvency, how is it distinct from the plan?
It says a different thing. You said that the app is only declaratory. Like literally, ambassadors would say a different sentence.
So it's like you can tweet textually and that's all?
No, we think that text is functional on this topic because the only thing the app fiats is the U.S. explains the role of its nuclear arsenal in this way, and the counterplan explains
so
it
like,
in a different way.
what do the ambassadors say in the role?
Yes, the distinction is like if we were asked about a use scenario, the response that the counterplan would give would be that is not what our nuclear weapons are for. Or
Okay,
that is not
so
the
like
purpose of our
South
nuclear
Korea
weapons.
comes to our ambassador and is like, North Korea is really scary right now, China's really scary right now, can you nuke for us? What is the counterplan's response to that?
like, can you nuke them?
Yeah, like what is the
Just
counterplan?
like South Korea asks us to launch a bolt from the blue nuclear strike.
So South Korea is like China and North Korea are being really scary and provocative right now. We're about to go to a war. Can you use a nuclear weapon against them? What does the counterplan say in response?
I don't think that the counterplan would speculate on that hypothetical.
Why?
Because that is the point of our argument about discrediting, like being dragged into discrediting
In
exchanges.
what scenario can you first use under the counterplan?
It does not make a statement about like internal military strategy. It is about declaratory policy, but we think that it forswears similar use cases as the app.
10 minutes. Stop 8:20. It's crisis stability, modernization, survivability. T, the sole purpose counterclaim. The rogue states this ad, the assurance of this ad, the hypersonics this ad.
Yep.
Can you hang on a second? I'm not getting power anymore from whatever happened over there. Okay, yeah, now that's working. Thank you.
What is he? What is he? You're credible, yes, credible. One partial China, the US will the unity, the Denny, the attack, the doctor, the size, second dial, plans, vulnerable congregation, the bill, stress, and no crisis management, that's out, government survey, refer reference, third capabilities of the capabilities that eat without trust, and retaliation, article, touch it out. These will be used for the data, opportunity, capabilities, trying to the interview, and anyone, and camera, the sense, the temporary, the truth, on the basis of the division, hostage, reach out to AC, the what is E2 is no war, yes, war, and capabilities override, the AC disorder is all by the nature of war, drop the miscalculation, war, makes it inevitable, because it misperception of the US individual, even through entanglement causes, out of war, but SCS Taiwan, but against our open escalation from minor skirmishes due, John Bradley, unruly and necessary, but which came to the lead of that's our Taiwan, the war, the center impact process is very clear, it's not Taiwan, great permission with Taiwan, the deployment of troops, ships, etc. Because it does not apply, next target now, the modernization advantage. Want to see what? Was modernization inevitable? Yes, inevitable. The that's an half claim, but it's question of the direction and speed. Only we have emphasis on the speed, the direction is fast, and offensive in the side is slow, which causes AI modernization, which is inherently bad, causes eventually AI integration to do switch next to towards torpedo drone swords, then future complicated shark extinction, next target is all causes, future weapons are only scared testing humans interpretation hates, 16 of time use, receive border with the fact that the line of the Chinese exchange like with the atomic visual weapons, the like the parachute fire, then the reprisal next target was no, AI integration, yes, integration was the carbon is great, that they want to maintain this extra
capability in order to have that impact drop. That's AI impact, which means that the prioritizes, it goes to prioritizes all above the AI. Then in the military, more sensitive intelligence, extinction, one, rogue outtake of the planet, constitutional military extent, second, as risks drop, winning, take over, evidence value that evaluated prior to extinction, it matters more in the next there's no nuclear modernization, you have gas impact, and evidence is not specific. Instead of AI integration with things that doesn't apply, only we have an AI impact, which names it the survivability advantage 281 and C1. There was no NFU vendor to gas shed, they maintained that the capability to strike user booster pressures, cause them to do that, which leads them to shedding their NFU, causing the strike the constant use capability, spirals, and nuclear conflict, how much second. The argument was the internal linkage raw, concede that, and no impact, it's the clock's not going for it. Last argument is no impact, gas impact yourselves. It's also proliferation, urban centuries, some proliferating, and this also becomes the refuge, restraints, nuclear proliferation, development, hot space, which is 2T. We mean planets and vacuum voice spatial competitions was not arbitrary standard. Anything else is arbitrary, makes it impossible to be app, kind of approaching that, so it can be by multilateral geographic, but not conditions stolen. Something you wish make completely with one of our companies, legislation, my vision, specific, I can find geographic reason. Preferred first is education, two internal links, A is ambition, views for the four, app, produce the database, discourage, topic, brain research, and statements refinement, B. First edition, our business, first use, basic exception, NFU, space, and advocacy, defining how the between NFU, second, functional over limiting picks or unbeatable pages of finite generics, or overpower, turns the answer sitting down, three, we solve one, this country, specific, and make it guaranteed deterrence, assurance, modernization, reasonably solves good. This is good enough if they could it's not reasonable neg. On T, the counterplan, perm do both, incoherence, deterrence, and is thus credible. Perm do the counterplan, the counterplan is example of the act, thus not functionally competitive. T, cannot use it to first. Employment constraints, dictate no first use policy, not declaration, yes. 63 no first policy, means under first use, we don't have full first. Deploy nuclear weapon, preferred, anything else legitimizes the secret counterplan, negative state action, counterplan, negative, more takes that steel. The only intrinsic act of management of possible debate, kills, fairness, and education, can't solve the app. One, solvency, competition, double bind, IPA, the counterplan either forswears first use and is independent for its two ambiguous, and benefit, still allows the U.S. to strike first. Einhard, the 21 solver because that's the first the it's not up for any first use of finance other increases in quarters and any local line issues in first use would try to be forced to public would be huge interesting opening from the operation just policy efforts to say go to the circle would be contrived. That means it also can't solve accessibility trend will only be that there are a few strike version and how the US remains the biggest deployment that's done. Solving that deficit also eliminates an FNF if it proceed. This limiting first use and kind of equally uncomfortable indefinite line. 14 instructions over versus life, like the ability to reduce emissions, the news emission movement around likelihood of use, something that doesn't solve over the the same level made the first use at a time but you have to limit it actually by the pledge. The rogue states it said it's a double term with the assurance it says that it's stated deterrence source North Korea is bad. We'll concede that the act expands its deterrence criminal to North Korea, which solves and sues ethnic pressure, which I inserted both parts for reference, the human mood evidence and the Buddhist carbon, so the assurance that said that extended terms amendments are key to preventing South Korean proliferation. The rest of the cards on the same disadvantage do not delete the act. They're all types of deterrence working towards North Korea abroad, which will say is good deterrence works on North Korea post. 21 deterrence can work, continue to work beauty, and North Korea has one of the US allies and assets have an impact on the rest of the US started became Ukraine. The US one effect on the available in the attack on the trouble great assets, the confident middle attack on the US and the world for the greater war program and those assets available we have those in the moment that might cover this whole American gets fine. Other factors prevent no conflict reports. 18 of the geography will capable of the war on the okay, the war the geography war last night so go the postal war the China the first all I know whoever you from the shock is rather than devastating want to dominate can once again power war which on the regime war coalition ground no Middle East war the turn back from the 19 of the days is the initial return bearing on the table on the down the force China US drone with reaction to saying the turn to the region of the Iran should be in the target decision of the four that go for MAD and the other should be calm the committee some of the mutual interregional deterrent would be stabilized in the actual situation of being deterred at least zero side the also intensification training deterrence works on the wrong horse each 20 week so money on the fears of World War III orbital and the fact that you have over between US and Iran on like which unchanged based on rare point cases or lethal acts and domestic policies all these sectors break with the wars that were war the run of the father Iran is not going to endure the regime the Trump seeking out for new Russia is likely to board escalating on the US from the war the Indian Iran regime deterrence checks running for Navy board 20 feet of the US treatment into the Iran is triggering response here immediate response and then see more latitude that is just something all options on the table greater and they clear by US weapons or figure back attack and then with the aid of that mattress and left assets the last situation continue to build Iranian regime is golden as a part of the greater effect effort plan to say like the legislation terms or impact TFR skip that the assurances is that troops training missile defense diplomacy prevent the lane Ramadan 19 of shooting during one time against Carbon they can reassure allies when they include the messaging for your commitment to common believe and join they'll track in BMD satisfact solves Blair 16 opposition response game of decided the leader public opinion on the key allies believe the first use a critical percent burden but they carry out and put any officials at which first use and not needed them like has far more simple military retaliation on any time use of your resistance force even nuclear get a weapon use of the liable things like reactors the public first use to decide the point allies don't believe the US would use it for nuke on their behalf catch up 22 on the push back and critical to the US brother coming over and the question of the US related trade all here for Tokyo on the business secret counter credibility of the US trial even that version that facing has to make allies consider the deterrence and they know trying to know people to put up trying to use them make out so the US abilities Almost trying to write Russian liberation, atmosphere, polarization, politics, making difficult U.S. support allies under duress, everything turns out about message aid Ukraine. They know it's coming. Consultation is normal means, which solves. If you're Johnson, the 22 president would be the only consul ally that's with the enemy. Yes, many other nuclear fusion with allies in Pacific, earlier we had a goal to move towards a global regulation with assurances, allies. Assurances are resilient player. You see, on the second none of the Republic of England allies. I'm the believes in virtues of the fans. I'm the federal discounted. Oh, this is the same card. Cut that. Washington Declaration did nothing, Taylor. 20 Washington Declaration may not increase the decrease of the letter needed to look and so everything that surrounding the abandonment and resolve with the one administration the 2024 election living in the election with transaction will hold him with the public ministry making the address security surrounding off control, no ECD proliferation. 20 dollars support ground on the United States about after new Lord Biden and assured to have been used and South Korea give high priority to entering alliance and reports and deterrence the allies have high priority increasing their own original currency that are producing further on the strongest leadership play. But the US and the allies Russia and the situation started working at China and the rest of the Russian reassure allies on the car and with South Korea in addition with dropping people value loaded go on but with a strong overorium the trade partners get like operation this new operation we cut and the national scheme nuclear force of potential targets. The hypersonic system the plan doesn't cause a hybrid conventional shift. The US only to go to counter Russia and all this arguments on road states are also reasons why the US retained nuclear deterrent. No link, God level and political. The US only retained disarming strike capability touching off. 21 US retained disarming strike capability capability and they get in charge of the second yes, you would have the time primary political and military sense and he wouldn't cause conditional arms. 18 if you have less than the industry attention to allow the end of US retain the theory of the government hours and the facility and give the renewal decision being first use of legal arms conditional also on the results and for water relation of very high national modernization so that over time we heard of parallel national arms control hypersonics have no distinct capability Tracy 21 hypersonic have no direct potential direct forces with missile flying to save hypersonics will lose much of the powerful item like taking longer than hypersonic missiles or the hypersonic reach out of the three extreme Haiti for one thing geometry the stronger hypersonic level of protection that allows make visible as the scenes centers and the powerful dragon feeding on the type of hierarchy with the advantage of existing also easily overcome there's a defense system of having more members of the using nuclear authors exaggerate the spread Tracy 21 technical analysis of hypersonic show they claim to inform them they acquisition missile that's what the intersonic from the pressure by coalition even on the missile that are one is going to others in nature degree including receipt of the defense hypersonics meant some individual and voting feasibility ready 20 others hypersonics and the chamber living the missile defense better the life members mutual and voting the same those watching North Carolina mutual and voting I'm not a missile defense during the war I'm not exchange of missile defense is able to hypersonics may during this one very force mutual and voting my wish to current threats 30 seconds
Condo?
conditionalities of voting becomes distracting arguing for responsibility to dispose all activities of the app. The second, the game counter plans that the app are bad and it makes it impossible to negate because it takes away our only core advantage.
Okay. You did? Yep. That was the only theory.
Yeah, condo and then the shut us up. Yeah.
Okay. The rogue states decide. Do you think that you've straightened this?
Yeah, we think we have said the deterrence for North Korea and Iran is good. All the warrants we cards are hyper specific to how Iran and North Korea deterred. We think it does not implicate the app.
Okay. Well, okay. I understand like it doesn't implicate the app. This Horowitz card is like both sides have formidable military capabilities. It is not about nukes.
Let's walk this back. You have read a bunch of cards that says the app increases deterrence threats towards North Korea and Iran and said that it's bad. We have said that deterrence threats work towards Iran and North Korea, which is a straight turn to it. If you also concede that this is defense and it's like not an impact and it's fine. Like
okay, so you haven't figured it.
well, we think we've transferred it. If you think we haven't,
Okay,
it's not like
but my problem with this is that neither of these cards say nuclear deterrence. Deterrence is not just like a nuclear first strike. These cards say that both like the diehards in both of these places have overwhelming military capabilities.
We think
there's no incentive for war.
the post evidence and the other cards are just the one card about Iran, like Iran prolif card, is specific to nuclear threats and capabilities, perceiving and preventing Iranian proliferation and action, which that applies and straight turns that. Second, the post card, even if it's deterrence generally, it still speaks to how deterrence would be happening as opposed to the app.
No,
Identified the nuclear
sorry,
threats.
I'm asking you about the Horowitz card and the Koban card.
Yeah.
Neither of them are about nuclear deterrence. Why is this a straight turn?
We think that if you win, that deterrence towards Iran and North Korea as a result of the app would be new nuclear threats. We think that those are effective because they prevent action. Iran, all the warrants are like cost, etc.
Have you made an
deterrence
argument that conventional deterrence is failing in these places now?
I don't think so. No.
Cool. Great. Sole purpose counterplan. First question of 1AC cross X, the 1AC or the app is solely declaratory.
Yes.
If not, declare something else. What does
I guess counterplans that don't fiat out of US first striking or war, the FAS evidence is pretty clear that
neither the plan nor the counterplan does that. Both of them just say a thing. So
Yeah.
what is the standard for competition?
I guess standard for competition is probably not making declarations that are unique or very similar to
So we
the
just
app,
don't get declaratory then.
Sure. Yeah.
Okay, for sure. This Einhorn card is like, so Sole purpose is subject to interpretation. If it is construed narrowly, then it would be essentially the same as NFU. Why is this not a solvency card for us? Because
This is
it says that it
a double
effectively
flying
rules out
argument.
first use.
If it effectively rules out first use, then it probably doesn't compete because it means the counterclaim results in the exact same effect as the F. But if it's not that, and you stand up in the 2 and you're like, here's 15 cards of why it's distinct, that's probably a reason why the counterclaim is different, but doesn't solve the F, because NFU, for any first strikes for China, is good.
At least in my comments. Okay. Ignoring its itself, and we're gonna take right.
You're good. You're good.
gonna go there.
Sorry, I was the way it's directed is freaking me out.
Oh, sorry.
It's okay, I assume you're doing other stuff.
Just texting, yeah.
The order is the shift to sad, crisis advantage, modernization advantage, survivability. Are you okay with the rest of this today is recorded by?
Yeah, well, it's already being recorded.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Okay. Everyone good?
I need 2 seconds. Sorry. There's a lot of people. Okay.
Okay, cool. Conventional purple strike outweighs the replicates the effects of a first strike, which causes adversaries to jump launch one and preemptively strike its first global arms face. That's the result of one is regime change. Conventional hypersonics are an absolute victory with trigger. Adversarial nuclear preemption, broad bond 21 respect. Let's show report an over they see storm possibility. Consider one side trigger, possibility possible since will adapt for two instability, China concern over French discussion surrounding strapping enemy of Russia. Outlining Russia and to resume response to conventional attack, otherwise existence of Russian state. 2. Target ambiguity. Conventional hypersonics are maneuverable. That means the US will employ hypersonics that they would, against smaller actors like terrorist adversaries will misperceive that as incoming attacks on them. Link 20. The USA shape is only the conventional like China, Russia, or besides modernize these forces, defining policies, institutional, starting with trying to decide when it comes to will be nuclear leaders, able to conference until do they force to some political work, right? Characters of the reduce the target ambiguity leader assume worse about a target, even if target zero styles, possibility to be interpreted as sequential assumptions. Reason of escalation 3. Decapitation. The threat means to death forces smaller regimes to pre-allegate lead 20. Decapitation takes silence to chase secret percent of a greater probability decapitation because the solution that comes to power at the top. The more vulnerable that take preventive measures such as involving scenes, illegation, rogue actions, or accidental not posture reduce. Immediately put into leadership percent that causes nuclear war. Freedom 22. Delegating authority for command control to lower heat. Good escalation of liberty to receive degrees and eliminating combat of his committed operating agent. Information is difficult mixing even cultures that were even something mundane such as a plane for a meal shot more essential culture of the regime of its arsenal they can respond by firing nuclear weapons. In turns case warhead ambiguity kills NFU credibility. The credibility threshold is too high. Lead 22 to play. The guard should use copper substances to recover use play. This will have credibility to lead information that absence verification enemies to warning specific places that practice interest in extreme ways and forces. The aggressive response to AC1 was no link even if they don't result in the elimination of capability for disarming first strike. The plan gives the Pentagon a guardianship to demand a conventional shift. 1 is worst training arms control development will be logged up in exchange for productions in the nuclear rules. Hour 5. The aggressive campaign opposite policy change 2 in the case of military reducing where they can be constantly compensated to opposite role. This is arms to policy by force polarization forward. Gives service of powerful ways in the U.S. proposal which services use to ensure treaties which accommodate and you will see U.S. arms development of origin tandem with the intro government law which is one is sure the other also begins with undergraduate things law. There's no China missile 2 with MSX, the third chain where there are rules to cancel the B-28 and those for them to go to the start Congress and defensive military is not able to reassure and state there would be pressure to tell our allies we have a replacement capability Hotman 2084 and if you as long as the most crossing the finish line. It's a question of sustained commitment to crossing the 125 accelerator to allow hypersonic commercial support to go fast and commitment for hypersonic go however close returning U.S. forces in the air are actually people at the years of our likely to increase on time yet. Examination of like folks when it raised up in the year 200 production is mission enables the most robust hypersonic scale material issues are being overcome and are being overcome. Betsy, the Benz V23B materials going to see the key American engineers are developed economic concepts that will fulfill the security and communications. They're being compromised or currently compromised even if they don't work and are never used. The mere possession creates userless pressures. And the clear 23 hypersonic defense are offensive and use policy PGS when the attack with the middle north of your possession by induced such as the outbreak we have early dimensions will be conflict east of Nigeria clash between US and Chinese vessels and ICS battle pro average of hypersonics minimized will scale to one and then down the proactive fierce counteraction US NATO forces face the Russian attempted to launch after so access when awarded a US office will proper to destroy hypersonic base concerns our resolution program to the corporate and big defending nation will take the worst hesitations. The launch we see for the authors except for argument is wrong. Our evidence cites studies and research that prove that hypersonics capabilities are feasible and it's a question of adversarial perception. We see 5 hypersonics do not increase mutual vulnerability. US hypersonics are uniquely threatening so one-sided advantage will winning. 19 Russian Chinese hypersonics cannot threaten the US are so supposed to keep the US capability will be one-sided advantage will not be leeches from clearly darkness and the launch more possible. Russia China would not until a few minutes before inducing fears that China might be under attack too. There's no actual global arms race now. Russian Chinese systems currently deployed are total bullshit in Montgomery and Nelson 23 Ukraine. These pictures shut down a console which could not announce a hypersonic hyperbole time the message reception self-suspension the rapid push from a specific elections hypersonics questionably. One Russia's allegedly deployed hypersonics USS. The behind that will be like metric Chinese AI by announced specific card security Russian systems for inherent limitation of the agenda behind the US cautions approach right flux resistance field insufficient systems. The crisis ability advantage. 1NC1 NFU is not credible. 1 capabilities outweigh statements. Even eliminating ICBMs would not be enough because LCBMs conventional first strike are on the table on targets, but they don't result in any operational changes. Then quote on the gist that they said it results in preserving a disarming first strike, which honestly proves not believed in empirics prove cost out 21 and 0 for case first to adopt an NFU. The Soviet and Chinese Indian and Soviet have a program failure from programs and revolution and you have smaller arsenal weapons are really loaded and weapons separated. There's weapons that are probably among US efficiency from before build up to it's not credible or they say China has an NFU now. 1, it wouldn't be lambastically public. The PLA just won't alter the military plans around it. 2, C trusts himself. Obviously, that doesn't mean he trusts the US. 3, they can't believe in NFU and think it's reversible. Proof by how China is having a debate about doing theirs. 4, Ukraine fundamentally Chinese thinking they no longer believe any other country's NFU. Jiao 23, according to military resources, including new the war China's will incorporate tactics the country can believe large nuclear without question to the social China nuclear can add ambiguity to NFU. China's how China feels to do something cut out of NFU. That China prepared to change its policy during crisis. Water by any conflicts to culture policy, including Chinese NFU with other NWS. They say dialogue. Obviously, it's put the cart before the horse because they can't engage in dialogue. China doesn't believe in the NFU in the first place. China's doings for NFU are
Stanley Foundation evidence is that, quote, NFU making nuclear weapons not appropriate in almost all instances or almost all contingencies. How is the act do that when it's only towards China?
I didn't do that, but I can talk about it if you want.
Okay. Sure. That's the link argument.
No, I read the two other parts. So the first argument is about horse trading, right? Like, you've obviously said that adopting an NFU towards China makes a large difference in our nuclear strategy towards China. It would reduce our reliance on nuclear weapons in terms of both arms control and China within the Taiwan Strait, like deterrence. Therefore, gives the Pentagon something to bargain
sure.
with.
Looking at the horse trading card is generalized about like nuclear arms control, like that broadly restricts nuclear weapons, leading to things like hypersonics. What evidence have you read this as an app that only restricts nuclear use in one instance results in hypersonic shifts or Pentagon's wanting to do?
I mean, it's not really only specific to broadly. Like, it describes the relationship between the Pentagon and the U.S., which is, generally when there are restrictions in U.S. nuclear force cluster, that has to be compensated by.
Okay. If it says, quote, one weapon system is traded for another, if we win that the app does not rid of nuclear posturing in every other conflict scenario, how is the app trade one for another?
Because the link is not about a weapon system, it's about the trading process, right? Like, it says that NFU reduces the role of nuclear weapons, and therefore, the Pentagon would then have something to bargain with to get the
still
Pentagon to
maintain
improve the
first strike capabilities against Russia. Why does the Pentagon give a shit when they can still do that posturing?
For example, they would be like, okay, we now need conventional hypersonics to use against China because you have reduced the role of nuclear weapons in that contingency, and then the 1NC Russell evidence also directly talks about NFU in case this, this evidence doesn't say NFU, but the Russell evidence says it would directly trade off with a
That's
role
fine.
for
Advantage
conventional
2, no impact AI integration. This is very specific to the U.S. creating lethal autonomous weapon systems. How is this at all specific to, or it's talking about Chinese integration of AI into their nuclear command and control systems?
Okay, so the part that's specific to China is the 1NC evidence, which says that they have not calculated that they need or will integrate it into AI. The share evidence is about if they do integrate it into AI,
where
it is questionable whether or not that leads to drone swarms of use.
Where's this card talk about nuclear integration? Guy ain't gonna do the country specific stuff. It's about creating laws which are not the same as putting AI into scenes.
It answers the impact of the 2AC extended, which is when you said drone swarms and a bunch of other shit.
Okay. Guess that's fine. Chinese modernization is inevitable. Why?
Yeah, so our cards are China modernizes for offensive reasons. They want to pursue nuclear weapons for coercive.
So it's offensive always. What's the driving factor behind offensive modernization?
Like geopolitical ambitions, the desire to revise the status quo.
Okay.
It's the assurance disad, the rogue states disad, the conventional ship disad is where I took combo. And then purpose conflict.
Sorry, the sole purpose of it.
Yep. Assurance disad, rogue states disad, conventional ship disad, which is right.
The contest.
Sole purpose. Assurance disad can see no East Asian role of no impact. Rogue states disad can see the Horowitz evidence, which is North Korean defense, and the Koban evidence, which is Iran defense, and deliver around nuclear deterrence. All evidence says that we have Iran's capabilities in the region now, and a general war would devastate both sides. So they're unlikely. There's no argument for conventional deterrence failing now. Per 2AC cross-sects, and the same goes for the Iran whole thing, but nobody read the impact of that. The ship disad conditionality is good. We get 1 with 2 conditional blanks. One negation theory. The role of the negative is proof of the plan, not defend one straight turning. Counter plans is somebody rule because this has to account plan, not proof of the plan is good. Arbitrariness causes shifting goal plus 2. Next place is prevents night choice, not adaptation. UC checks is minus 3. Innovation they cause risk aversion instead of experimentation. 4. Their impacts are double T and gateway issue. Are inherently conditional 5. Rejecting argument of the D and 6. This one kills instead of resistance. Counter plans is salvage. Next place because they fire off force terms. Full purpose counter plan.
In turn, on the benefit is functionally caused by the 2EC, non-credible NFU declarations are worse than nothing. 1. Overconfidence, the US will assume adversaries believe its pledge, not prevent. Cover for destabilizing movements under crisis to demonstrate resolve or relying on NFU to control escalatory signals and skeptical adversaries misread. These steps suspect for nuclear first strike, death will demonstrate without crisis stability, then a strike in question, making diplomats and journalists talk. What if the US is completely destroyed? What if a bioweapon kills millions? What if a cyber attack collapses the economy? The US will interpret those signals of aggression and intention to do those things which prompts aggression. 3. Distrust NFU is perceived as a departure from open dialogue and transparency by use options 419. And if your parties will increase the atmospheric distress, make it harder to acquire by the Soviet and abuse time, it's not to encourage the nuclear free movement. It was also one that never meant ever so if you can undermine stability, they just say not a suicide, whether the circumstances in which on a few be credible, they're not anyone's anyway cares about the disingenuous and if you suggest that to claim that if you would actually contribute to unpredictable international second on the Moscow Russian would feel reassured and themselves experience with their questionable and abuse that they made feel more risky or and abuse that dishonest manipulative capacity of the nuclear transparency confidence building and humanity short as it's done. That is often so viewed as a deception campaign leading up to a first governor 11 of a serious crisis that not like the adversary would be reassured by declaration or policy rather than being a straight adversary might view a street inaugurating this effect deception campaign designed to will the men of false sense of security would actually make things worse if adversaries believe that an is part of a deception operation of its of a first strike and if you credible does not answer it, compare the counterpoint versus the plan, not the plan versus the status quo, the net benefit might be small, the deficit is 0, 2C1 is 2 both 1. Leaks all long offenses about including NFU in the formulation, that is what causes backlash and triggers reputational costs, that's only 2. The US West categorically does not value a discussion of use scenarios to avoid the linguist. They don't maintain and want to go with the NFU is never declared crisis because you can always come up with a crisis scenario which you look like an idiot for not using the classic thinking scenario everybody uses which is intellectually bullshit but very effective in the public. I don't think we should talk about scenarios for use. Somebody asked me about hypothetical, you know, that you say we don't talk about scenarios, so we never ever talk about the scenarios on which we use them because there may be targeting that with self credibility as well. You should know if you talk about we should go in the card so what if aliens come out and no that's not the should we talk about as we mitigate 2 doctors Chinese the Chinese policy is so clear that we can constantly play work into them to prove that it's not right. 3 make signals from the perm are bad, which is the 2EC summons here to before 10 to get a security assurances restricting the world equipment to deterrence of nuclear attack. This notice makes clarification for failed to prevent confusion and concern. The cities understand whether there was a subtle alteration of the word and the inconsistency about allowing no clarity. Encourage speculation of the concern, and it was not easy to tell whether the murkiness was laziness, not like calculation or a mixture. One error clarification is illegitimate cause of sandbagging the structural integrity. The 2EC2 is due to the counterpoint and the sole purpose is distinct in 2 ways. 1, function, and if you is still exclusively a statement about how we intend to use or nuclear weapons, sole purpose is a statement about why we possess, and rank 21. Sole purpose is not NFU, even if its most stringent formulation comes close, but it's not the same thing. NFU is all about the US and would not use a good news, so this explicit employment constraints. Sole purpose is conscious about whether the US possesses the irrational, not how we use it, it is not in place of employment constraints. The emphasize the role of news sector for the sole purpose of driving to work with just driving the ER, nothing will stop her. NFU requires extending the car will never be used to drive the ER2 declaration is a distinct declaratory policy, even if implications are very similar. Literally, the sentence that would be said by US diplomats is different. That is functional per 2EC cross X. 2, 3, small differences matter. Don't want to offer to the accountable because they're essentially the same. Also, 21 any important policy to deserves to be crafted to win the assumptions we should be right for high policy defense qualified distinction. People can understand the issue and trust their versus those who do. There can be a distinction of important adversaries known as the between NFU and sole purpose. That advanced card does not answer because they said the plan was solely declaratory. Now 2EC3 is theory. Declaratory policy picks are good. One only their offenses. They can pick against the declaratory policy app. Does not have the plan solves some predictability. It's the only action that the every app must commit to take. If they do not have a defense, they should get good. 2 is key to the quick there's overall consensus nuclear risks are high in the scope, not sustainable. 3 educational and grounded in the lid also which is demonstrated by all of our and ring evidence. 4 negation theory from proving convenience that's legitimate and the other interpret or really shows the alpha testing 5 part of it is good, makes it more shooting good fun, 6 reject the argument out the team. I don't evidence 1 compliment solves reassurance guys one is not ambiguously declares all. First is not a goal of nuclear possession. 2 better than the plan the book of reassurance comes from follow-on dialogues and transparency and if you and those in comparison to traditions ideas just from the Soviet Union. 3 I don't conclude the best way to avoid problems with these languages is simply do sole purpose is the equivalent of a real NFU which will the accountable does. I heard 21 issues sole purpose is the interpretation of a properly crafted may believe in a figure beginning there's a nutrition not should support not support sole purpose is the intention of interpreting it. Government first use of treaty and support NFU sole purpose or rejected. 4 it would contain absolutely no exceptions and rule it ever destabilizing mission out. 21 to reduce the role of news or reliance on the president should adopt sole purpose the proviso and it was deterrence is a function that excludes other functions of the proviso always applies exclusive its sole purpose of these functions not others that deter retaliate rule out other potential functions of the following do not have a very strikes and limitation for excuse or control escalation to attain a military advantage for a non-lethal demonstration. Sorry, drop to the Dawn evidence. The counterpoint is not linked to the net benefit, which is the Lewis cards that I read on permutation table that does not look uncredible because it refuses to speculate on use hypotheticals. Now, the extension of the Dawn evidence. 1 sole purpose looks or solves crisis stability with China reassures the peaceful intent and unlocks dialogues and arms control and hyper 20 eliminating ambiguity by adopting sole purpose to have a positive security impact. Sole purpose with signal China with about to security dialogue with Beijing is a political cluster job. 2 China preventing and if you would have ordered US China nuclear standoff similar to the Cold War. 2 they link because of accidental turns Miller. 2 even if they were to go clear to good and if the requirements of reaction are inconsistent with the genuine and if you even say that permanent in the cells, and if you're like you're on to preserve the ability to reopen the data, create a box number for check a history, suggest someone against the possibility for season. Here's the potential big arsenal. 3, the counter plan is more credible than the plan 2. China Abe 18, the incident of the credibility question was raised. The hour water time was the new and better way of expressing essentially the same concept as NFU in the Japanese context. So representing said better as NFU has been very often taken as a propaganda point by China, such as the cynicism of the whole NFU commitment. Universally, this is a very pure propaganda exercise. Operations which China have been received, maybe but to settle for a different regulation of it. Essentially the same idea.
What did you stop the time at?
424.
Okay.
Good for order.
Yeah.
Okay. Crisis stability advantage, modernization advantage, survivability advantage, the sole purpose counterplan, the rogue states disad, the conventional ship disad. Yo,
Okay.
alright, everyone else good? Cool. U.S. China conflict is developed escalates their defenses and assuming early warning the ASV capabilities that Trump makes all falsely possible. Escalating hostile distinction. The first argument is that appearances for solvency. This evidence is not responsible because China has specifically asked for an NFU, and that I evidence from the one I see says that they believe in the sanctity of it because we have the similar policies that they know because of the U.S. and Chinese military doctrines. The next argument is that the Ukraine changed China. This evidence is just reactionary. This says it just says they're reactionary to pressure, but are unique is evidence saying that China is reactionary to U.S. pressure, not Ukrainian pressure, which or not Russian pressure on Ukraine, which means it is not linked. The next argument is that we can't do dialogue in China. If this China does not believe us, they do. It's verifiable. This evidence just says non-verifiably bad. That's incorrect. It's verifiable because the evidence that they believe in U.S. nuclear sanctity, and also the other evidence for the Tracy says that there will be consultation and assurances to China, which means that they will believe in the next. A couple of arguments are that there's no impact because China has to invade. That's not our scenario. Our scenario is saying that the current hostiles will escalate because of misperception. The next argument is that there's no use or lose pressures with little evidence. Yes, there is. They conceded that they will launch their China will launch their nukes in order to try and save themselves, and then they will drop their NFU, or that the United States will first strike them, which is our scenario. The next argument is that the status quo disproves the app. That is incorrect. Our modernization stuff is not linear, rather it is an exponential impact. Finally, they said that China will invade, and that the political impacts of war are too high. The political impacts of war part is answered by the use of this stuff, and the China will not invade. Invasion is not our impact. Modernization is not offensive, but it is perceived as offensive, which is our argument, which is dropped. We will take a kick. The decide can see that there is no AI delegation. We are not going for survivability. Two, functionally dropped impacts. The first is China. The second NFU causes first use response to use capabilities. Finals into nuclear conflict, which is all much evidence. The only argument is that China will not abandon their NFU with no warrant. They will because of U.S. use it or lose it pressures, which will cause them to do it in order to save themselves because they are scared that we have such a good first strike and second strike capability that they will not be able to do anything. The next is attack will impact. Nuclear attack will solve every conflict with the restraints of proliferation development and how to be able to set up as the only argument is that our card is highlighted like Christmas tree. That's not an argument. You should engage with this whole purpose. Permutation to the counterplan is an example of the plan. Tracy FAS says that the employment constraints defines the no for use when further. Author discusses NFU as a traditional declaratory policy, which our evidence gives a literal semantic core of NFU, which is a fiat constraint on weapons development. The counterplan would fiat that the U.S. does not have a nuclear weapon, which does not meet our interpretation. If the counterplan functionally force first use is not competitive forward, and 20 no for use policy is the same as sole purpose for the NFU promise to say that the same as someone else has a sole purpose regarding the role of the use by an officer. The interpreter is indistinguishable sole purpose is the exact same thing there. They're in the same federal law. Any single day will consider sole purpose is the equivalent of NFU only because the effort is to use it no use first. And prefer employment counterplans are bad and take the only average intrinsic advantage. The secret counterplan is unbeatable and lead deficits are non-falsifiable. The declaratory picks are also legitimized. The negative state action counterplan, which is a slippery slope to objects be out there. The distinctions are wrong. One function. The only way to explain that why the counterplan solves the state's out pan and ring distinction amount. And 23 pin and ring they argue that NFU said the X on the unemployment number and sole purpose of the U.S. However, sole purpose representing unemployment, for example, in response to conventional tax, sole purpose could include over use. And two, declaration. Tracy evidence says the NFU does not have to be declaratory. Our evidence is the first U.S. based discussion of NFU. There is one author's idea of an NFU. 2, 3 is small differences, not making a competition argument. Arguments about functional dispute competition based on a mandate, not effect. Otherwise, it legitimizes positional competition. But if it doesn't, it solves none of the case. The U.S. can still
still strikers can enter ring. It's one to know if she said implement constraints, hold versus implicates the same as it does not, imposes implement constraints, and solves the competition double by the offer. And so and no procedure against particular countries, the equivalent of declaring sole purpose of the ECB country, the nuclear weapons of the decision would be the sole purpose of decision, not to use it over extraordinary circumstances. For example, period of taxi, overview, the first overcompetence argument is solved by the eye evidence because we have the same policy, so there would be no problems. The second argument is inevitable because the media will always question it, especially in the world of the counterplan. The third argument is the warrant is that the Soviet Union was bad, but that is not our argument because our NFU is distinct because there's mutual deficit is crisis-ability. Counterplan cannot solve it or survivability. Counter-channel only advances their NFU and frustrate the USA capabilities in a world where the US have to remain ambiguous among the play. But the attempt to maintain ambiguity is worse, causes more conflict because it's seen as ignoring China's transfer policy. This app. There is no chance that the link the app is hyper-specific to China. The US domain error actually the reverse of the rogue states this side conceded that we conceded the link that we increased nuclear deterrence because to this side, the other side. There is no chance that the link the app is hyper-specific to China. The US still maintains the nuclear deterrence capabilities in the entirety and then in the entirety towards other adversaries like Russia, North Korea, Iran, etc. We should the Pentagon be satisfied with those threats. No horse trading may rely on it when we trade an entire weapon system for another that doesn't that we don't do that can't when the reassurance legally consider the rogue states this and this as a result of the app would be strengthening the consideration nuclear threats towards other nations. That is unnecessary and they drop their top and know that evidence which should fill their links to even hypersonics for China. It says quote and if you would have a political not a military sense which means the US would still retain the disarming striking nuclear strike capability against China for at least a decade, which has two important implications. One, there would be no need for a shift because the capabilities would still exist and salient Pentagon. Two, it sets a time frame as over a decade away, which means we would still be able to retain the capabilities until that means our impacts categorically outweigh on time frame hypersonics framing issue for the impact is extinction and the there. Answers to our cards about that failures of hypersonics where it's possible, which does not apply to the claim that they do nothing to upset strategic ability or are not different. They fail, gliders are visible, and they are slower than ballistic missiles and detection means that they do not have a strategic advantage, which is the trace evidence clear. This perception overwhelms, but the after links are predicated on the entanglement of conventional nuclear forces. After the after clarifies the Chinese entanglement capabilities and soothes fear that self-perception guys. Case 21 references non-nuclear and imitates citizen ability. China loses the perception and tool that is hard to determine because nuclear located in North America often do the solid close to find the risk of the position of equal opposite. You give China's leader pause, and that means zero is given impact. They perceive and their failures do not care because they're not threatened.
Can we get that card first?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Okay, give me one. Okay, yeah.
Shouldn't put your laptop on that
Yeah.
side that stands
Oh,
for.
yes. Okay, the order is the shift disad, the rope states disad, the sole purpose counter plan, crisis, and then chapter evaluator. Okay, everyone.
pass only if you can solve one U.S. first strike if they interpret right the nuclear war and build into nuclear first strike is capped by the counterplan that's back as a property of preemptive strike infiltrated by Chinese capabilities and the policies and modified guns as the U.S. are preemptively strike because if you use a losing capability because they think that China is going to shed their NFU and strike for a second, the Chinese first strike they shed their NFU drop the entire base, the fear entanglement of conventional nuclear capabilities magnified, definition magnified by the counterplan. If you win, reasons why the counterplan magnifies fear conventional entanglement, which is that it means that the counterplan cannot solve a Chinese first strike because they shed their NFU as a result of the counterplan or the status quo where they do not know what U.S. nuclear policy looks like, which means they first strike the U.S. capabilities and ships in the South and China Sea that both outweigh consequently the war, which is inevitable drop the war, which means that if we win, any chance of the counter, if it is 1% risk that the counterplan does not resolve versus there's massive distinction that creates ambiguity. It's a reason you vote affirmative because this counterplan is fucking bullshit. Does not make a distinction of their scenario, but like the question of war being bad, but saying cannot get any chance that China comes forward to and that cares about the words NFU being mattering, or why the words NFU are key to everything is the reason why this whole purpose counterplan cannot solve the app. The only argument on case is credibility. Yes, NFU is credible. The I emphasis drop the entire debate. There's no blackmailing argument because China is seen as the U.S. military documents that argue that there will never be an instance in which we are willing to raise dropping a single bomb would be catastrophic because they're not willing to trade U.S. safety. Also, all of the offense of the counterplan should be applied here. Now, the counterplan, the not credible stuff, yes, credible one specific to China, and they ask for which is all the explanation of the military doctrine is second the USSR. The example is not an applicable drop. One of your explanation that appears that the USSR do not apply or applicable or describe the U.S.-China relationship, which is the same thoroughly case of by the I. This is the best card in the debate is specific to nuclear first use, i.e. the fact that the U.S. will believe in the idea of the sanctity of an NFU policy, but they don't have a card for its sole purpose. It has that same claim as that conventional stuff drop. They cannot win that the conventional retaliation stuff causes overconfidence or any net benefit to the counterplan. There's a drop from the disad on the two and that there's the counterplan solves or the app solves conventional nuclear entanglement. The 2AC hands evidence that nuclear conventional weapons are only scary as a result of nuclear and the misperception, but the counterplan does not do that because it leaves first strike on the table because it requires China to have to probe whether or not the U.S. would use a nuclear weapon in any scenario in order to know what the U.S. policy is, which means that they are still ambiguous and still unsure because this links to them, but not us. Either the counterplan doesn't compete or doesn't solve. Permutation to the counterplan is the functional stable of the plan. The FAF says that employment trains to define what an NFU is. The counterplan fiat that there's no the first strike, which is a constraint on the employment of nuclear weapons. The one here also got a bunch of evidence that this is the exact same thing in effect. The board evidence evidence are great and descriptive about how they comparison between the sole purpose and first use policy and effects of what they do. The no declare stuff is not different. Yes, it's not different. That was above. Basically all the same thing. The Pandering evidence drop the mount evidence, which is a 1AR indict of the Pandering says that the Pandering is fucking wrong and also conclude that they're the same thing in effect because they result in restricting U.S. first strike posture that arbitrary stuff. It's good to exclude counterplans like this if we say things like the secret counterplan negative state action or declaratory case to take away the only good aggregated, which is U.S. first strike, is the only internal link that makes any plausible sense with an NFU app, but they get that obviated because they can just fiat it away and say that there's some arbitrary net benefit to it. The next argument is that they're screwed, not screwed, get this X counterplans. If interested, takes, etc., that all compete off of other things, which is the 1AR explanation of this stuff. But if it's the same thing that lasts with the U.S. first strike, because we cannot solve the case because there are two reasons. First, the first strike has stuff. One AC player says that first strike because that the U.S. first strike capability because that preemptive attack against U.S. Chinese capabilities and with the pressure, the buildup is sufficient to trigger a crisis or war escalates quickly because of nuclear winter. Only existential risk in this debate because it's described that U.S. had preemptive first strike. So what happens if the 1AR, the 2AR is correct? 2AR is correct. If they quote allow first strike to continue to happen, then it's the reason why this impact is conceded. The counterplan does not resolve it, and magnified by open framing of the one in question is sufficient trigger. Second, the crisis ambiguity stuff. The comparison ambiguity stuff. China has no idea what the nuclear policy is opposed to app. Think about how the 2AR explanation why China would know what the app is. That they have to probe and ask the U.S. what the U.S.'s nuclear policy is, i.e. if it would be a biological weapon, chemical weapon, because China has no fucking clue what they're doing because they do not know what U.S. nuclear conventional capabilities are or the attainment of it, which is magnified. But the increasing ambiguity because of all that framing means that they do not know or do not know whether or not the U.S. is actually going to first strike them or believe them, which means all the credibility stuff flips app, and is the reason why the counterplan does not resolve it causes China to shed their NFU to resolve because they fear U.S. first strike posture. The first strike posture magnified by the I am saying that NFU is a magic key phrase that is the only way to be non-ambiguous and clear to China what our capabilities are. Terrorist or internal link, which means that the probing stuff causes more conflict and more war because China would just track them with a nuclear war strike the shed their NFU in order to do it. The deal or stuff does not solve it. The NFU is key in order to solve the I have said that a declaration of NFU is critical in order to the phrase is just changing operational changes does not resolve Chinese fears because they still think that they could first strike them with other ways, things like bomber subs, etc. But no, the NFU does not solve confidence stuff. Yes, preemptive stuff happens above the idea of the justification for it would be Chinese buildup, i.e. the fact that the counterplan relies on them winning that there's a nuclear escalation happening. Think about what the chain of events and chain of command. The result of nuclear attack happening. The counterplan said that it's a response to a nuclear attack. What is the basis and threshold for the U.S. determining if China is building up to a nuclear attack? The basis would be things that they're doing in the status quo, because of U.S. conventional entanglement that is not solved by the counterplan, which results in the U.S. justifying a first strike as a result of the counter. The China arguing for such a plan as first strike as a result of the counterplan because they would perceive Chinese capabilities and build up now the reasons why they should first strike. Counterplan doesn't compete. Panda writing evidence is awful because it says that they conclude it's the same thing. The amount of evidence is much better than they're giving credit for. They said it's like not an argument, but there's not a warrant for it. The evidence says that it is precise because it says that they are implicitly the same thing in function. If they're distinct or the right is distinct, allowing the U.S. to first strike China is bad because a derivative strike would be justified by any Chinese capability to develop that.
Anybody else? Anybody? 99%.